Allina Health is proud to support your Loons as the official healthcare provider of Minnesota United. Every day, we provide expert care to keep the team in top form on match day. All across Minnesota and western Wisconsin, you can find the same dedicated providers just a short drive away. It's expert care when and how you need it. Schedule your visit at allinahealth.org today. Allina Health, all together better. Welcome to the Sound of the Loons podcast, brought to you by Allina Health. I am here with Khaled El-Ahmad, Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director here at Minnesota United. Welcome to the podcast officially.
Thank you, Zarek. It's great to see you here, coaching and running a podcast. So
a little bit of everything. Bit of everything. How are you? How's the family going? Obviously, the weather's getting warm outside now, finally.
Yeah, well, it's all good. Girls are liking it, doing gymnastics, soccer, enjoying the Minnesota life and excited for the coming warmer days.
Yeah, this will be the first summer here where the family's going to be with you really full time though, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they moved over in August, so that also is taking a bit time of adjusting, but yeah, all good.
That's
all
awesome.
Great, actually.
You looking forward to, you going to buy a boat? We're going to rent the boat, picnics, or just kind of enjoy some of the warmth for now?
Just games, work, and a summer transfer window.
Nice. Well, let's dive straight into it. 2025 season so far came in off a very good last season. But ultimately the great teams want to get better and they want to add players. More specifically, one of the players that came back, Morris Duggan, went on loan, came back and immediately stepped in early in the season and had a bright start. Are you able to talk about the club's philosophy in terms of younger players and just getting them experience and kind of maybe sending them on loan, getting them back and just taking the viewers into your mindset and the club's mindset a little bit?
Yeah, I think, when we look at players, we have to, just like many other teams, look at different avenues to recruit players, whether it's young from abroad or the college system or trade or cash or DTAM, GAM, all the complexity of the league. When it comes to Morris or Tani the year before, every player have their own pathway. And I think when the recruitment team did such a good job identifying Morris, we quite quickly saw in last year's preseason that he needed more game time, which we couldn't provide at the club. So he went on loan, did really well, came back to preseason, super fit. You can really, testament to Morris of how serious he took off season. He probably had something to prove. And then with the timing of, the players like Romero and etc. not being here, he grabbed the opportunity and did really well, is doing really well, and I think will continue to progress. So it's essentially a testament to himself, the coaching staff developing him, and for the recruitment team to bring him in. Us as a club, again, we try to look at all avenues to make sure that our roster has flexibility, so we can promote within, whether it's academy players or college players, and in general, I want to have the feeling that we can get better every window that we progress.
Mm-hmm. And I think of the first 10 games to go, a big stretch, 8 unbeaten, I think is a testament to the players that came in and, the preseason that we put in on and off the pitch. And to talk about some of the additions that the club has made, take us into a little bit of the mindset, bringing in someone like Owen, Ho Young, and Romero to start the season that have been part of the group now for the first little bit.
Yeah, I think, we had a plan for what we wanted to do in the winter window. Some of the mechanism within MLS, you have to kind of take advantage of, but at sometimes maybe it doesn't create the perfect efficiency, right? It's telling you to sign on the 22s versus maybe even a player that's 23 that could have been a better fit in a specific position. You have the limitation of international roster spots. And so we opted out with still having a good core of players like Trapp, Hassani, Pereira we knew would improve. You got Lod, so we decided to go for younger players like we've done with Owen and Romero. And then in Ho Young, we like the Asian market. Mm-hmm. And it was an addition that we think will provide versatility and options and additional depth to our squad. And so, excited with that. And then later on, the addition of Julian has also been, good, and I think will be good for the team, putting us in a position where we have a lot of option, good group of players to compete. And when you compete, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, one thing that we've spoken about privately, but I think for the fans is when younger players come in from different markets. I was fortunate enough to play for Glimt, who plays Tottenham soon, but to go on, I was 21 years old when I went to Northern Norway, and it's it's a very big culture shock, and it's very difficult. So for younger players, you can look at Joaquin, who took time to settle in, and with Owen and with Ho Young, it takes time for foreign players to come to America and settle in. So I know that the club has patience, but something that I can speak about from my personal experience is that it's extremely important that the fans understand it's instant gratification is not just going to happen with footballers. And I know that the club really, understands that and, is really excited to give these players time to just grow as players.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I might have sent you the link about Bodø Glimt in the Athletic about how they give players time to develop and patience. And we have to have the same thing, whether it was Lod when he first came, you saw it a little bit with Sangbin, Pereira. It's just natural that it will take time. It's a new country, new competition. They might be away from their family, different way of training, different physical demands. All of that is taking into account. So, not just that, I think also the various tags that the league puts on players, I personally don't like. Because you go, oh, here's the DP or is it under 22, and you sometimes think it's the savior of the club. From day one, I've said it's always the collective, the coaches, the player ops, the business, the CEO, the owners. We all have to do the right thing to be competitive and improve. So we're heading in the right direction, and we've added players that we believe will do a good job. And we've also had situations where you sign players that don't work, then you have to find a way to help them, continue to improve.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I actually spoke with Alejandro Braun this morning, and I know that they went through a coaching change recently, but he was telling me he's really benefiting from his change of scenery to get some games in Costa Rica. He's playing a further along midfield position to get into the box, to create plays, to get assists, to get goals. So again, I think this we bigger than me approach is something that is unique to Minnesota, in my opinion, because a lot of clubs are so individualistic in terms of everyone wants the individual praise for I brought in this player or I did this. But I think that's something that you've come in has been really important to you since showing up here in Minnesota. The collective is better than the individual.
Yeah, I think signing a player is just a little part of it, right? You then have the player ops, then you have the coaches who develop them, the physios. It really is a weed that ultimately can push the club to win. And when it comes to Bran, he had an experience in England that was different from the one that he has now in Costa Rica, doing well for the national team. And again, I think the process we have in place is good. We'll always improve. We review it. We just had a end of transfer window review meeting last week to see how we can improve on every decision we make. But there's such a solid process, so many people involved, that it's not necessarily about the quality. At times can be the adaptation or what the level they're coming from. But as individual players, I'm quite confident that we do sign players that are of good quality.
And I think that shows, transitioning into the first 10 games of the season, we try to always break it down in thirds or quarters. Each club is different. So just take us through your thoughts through the first third of the season as we're approaching, the Open Cup and kind of getting into a little bit busier time of the year.
I think it's, again, important to remember it's been 12 months. It's a first preseason and a full year for the coaching staff, a lot of people in and around the club. So we set out to look at, to continue to just improve week by week, window by window. So the coaches and we've made the identification that playing 5-3-2 could give us a certain competitive edge, fully knowing that we're going to have to evolve throughout the year, just like we did last year. And we saw it. I think 16 points after 10 games is solid, regardless of, whether the schedule is strong or not. You can only kind of, control what the game is in front of you. There's been ups, there's been downs, but in a sense, we're in a place where we can compete. And now looking forward just to the next game and then the game after, and hopefully we continue to get the good results and we're competitive. There will be ups and downs again. But as long as we can, improve and learn, I think we're heading in the right direction.
Change to Chill is a free, award-winning mental well-being resource offered by Allina Health. Our interactive website is tailored to both youth and the supportive adults in their lives. Change to Chill helps teens become more aware of the things that stress them out and equips them with relevant tools and resources to better manage stress and anxiety so they can live happier, more resilient lives. Learn more at changetochill.org. Yeah, points aren't given. As much as I remember back in the day, I had a conversation with someone where the parity in the league was much different, to where you could almost look at a schedule and say, oh, midweek against this team, that's 3 points. That doesn't happen anymore. And you figure we're about 2 results. If you look at Kansas City and maybe the Galaxy late winter, we're away from, 20 points in the first 10 games, which is a pretty darn good marker for the club. So expanding, going forward, just success with the first team, or, our version of success, having a pretty good start, has transferred into the second team now. So second team, hottest start in club history. We just recently found out Coach of the Month, Jeremy Hall. Take us into the club's perspective of how we've kind of transformed the second team a bit and really expanded, and we're seeing the fruits of all that change immediately.
Yeah, I think, again, kudos to the club and the coaches and Jeremy and Amos and Justin and everyone essentially involved in the development space. What all this takes a little bit of time, and last year was more focused on kind of setting the culture in and around the first team and slowly bridging all these various departments together. This year we focused as much time as we could to add quality to the second team, which we have. We've reorganized the staff in and around the second team and the development space. Development space, I mean second team, U18, 16 and 15s. And that's all heading in the right direction. And there is talent, quite excited. I know we play our home opener tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So I urge everyone to come up to Blaine to watch them. Even though we will unfortunately be on the road. One thing I like a lot is the training culture that Eric and then Jeremy and overall the staff have created. As you know, the second team scrimmages against the first team on Wednesdays, or we have a good flow of players up and down. We've seen first team players move down to the second team to get minutes. And I'm more proud of that than the results itself. It's fantastic to be unbeaten, but it's sports. You could stay unbeaten all season. It could not. It could go up again, it could go down, but it's the culture, it's the buy-in from the staff and the players that we're really proud of. And you can see academy players getting minutes, and first team, like it's a really good space, but continue to work really hard to just continue getting better.
Yeah, and I think that's the big one is we have a bigger picture, but every single day you got to put in the work and you got to come prepared. And for me, it's been a pleasure to be with the first team and to see the academy guys come up, and every single time they're making a difference in training. They're excited to be there. They're challenging the first team. They're challenging the Michael Boxells and the Will Trapps of the world. And I think that's something special, because once you can establish that culture where everyone's driven and, there's this collective, again, that's going to essentially drive the club forward. And, speaking of which, we've put some effort into the second team, and obviously we're seeing some of those results right now. There's things along such as the coaches symposium that we're putting on and some other things outside of the first and second team that are going on within the club. Can you take us into some of those initiatives to touch on them?
Yeah, again, similar to kind of the second team or that whole development space over the last 12 months since I've been here. We've done various analysis with Justin, Alex DeRosa, and Austin and Anne, and all the people involved in that space. How can we be of service for the broader soccer community? Do we make money on camps, etc.? Yes, we do. But also, how do we find ways to provide our knowledge? How do we become even more accessible? So I'm really excited about Alliance program. I think over 20 clubs have already signed up. We got the coaching symposium with over 50 people already showed up, and like I said, will show up, signed up. Like I said, if you're interested in football, come and listen, see something you might learn or like or dislike, provide feedback, so that's something we can grow. And then we have the satellite program where we as a club should and will be even more involved, providing free clinics. And all these programs will end up growing, and there's some more exciting programs that will come in the near future. But it's also important that we deliver and follow up on the programs we launch. So looking forward to us just being an even broader partner or collaborator with everyone else in the community that's developing the love for soccer, whether it's a boy or a girl. So
and that's awesome. For me, I've always tried to immerse myself in the local community, because that's who's in the stands, right? Those are the people that are got your back. They spend their hard-earned money to come cheer the team on in the snow, as we've seen in the rain. But take us into your own history. Where does this love to give back come from? Because these programs are new to the club, and obviously some of these ideas might have been there, but now you're executing them. So is this just where you grew up, or how does where do these ideas, maybe it's just your journey, but where do these come from?
I mean, one, you can see them in other sports, other non-for-profit organizations. I just think when you read our mission statements, you look at 4 pillars of who we want to be as a club. Yes, we want to provide a trophy, but I think the picture is even bigger than that. And that is to continue to grow the love of the game and provide as many opportunities for people to play the game itself. But it's a combination of people that affected me, my own journey of, what football gave me. And I just think we're in a fortunate position where we should find ways to provide even more service for the broader community, but also help some of the players that have the talent and aspirations to be the best they can be. And I think we can be a good partner and of service for all these local clubs and local leagues in and around the state and close to our state.
Hashtag retweet. I love that, because again, for me, that's always been something important to me. So, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to stick around and be a part of the club, was because it echoes a lot of the things that I care about in my own life. And those are moving forward into the summer, and now transitioning back a little bit into the first team, looking forward towards the summer. We have Open Cup coming up. We have Leagues Cup, summer transfer window. What are your thoughts just moving forward? I know there's a lot of games. I'm excited to be back in the Open Cup. It's one of my most favorite tournaments to be a part of. Louisville is going to be a tough match, but just take us into your summer thoughts.
I think it's just, continue to do the best you can do every day, and then reviewing that process so that we can continue to improve, making sure we have flexibility in the roster, making sure there's resources for improvement on and off the pitch, making sure the collaborative culture is good, but that also improves. So it might sound like a boring answer, but it really is just kind of making the right choice every day and improving on that day to day. And I think if we're continuously competitive throughout, we'll have the ability to add players if we would want to, but it's also our responsibility to develop players. So maybe then we don't need to go out into the market because maybe one of our young players takes the step up. So just generally really excited that there's a lot of games. A lot of games gives more players an opportunity to play. And kind of we will find out more about ourselves as well as more games we have.
And as a sporting director, how do you balance? And again, I ask questions, but I understand there's certain levels that we can't necessarily get into. But how do you balance, raising the talent that we have? Because again, our second team has shown these guys are hungry. There's good players. They're growing. Balancing that with potentially, roster flexibility and bringing them in. Obviously, these decisions aren't made in an hour, but some of the conversations you have internally with your staff and the play and the recruitment team.
I just think, you have to decide that that's the route you want to go. And I said it upon my hire that we would get a little bit younger. We would provide players an opportunity, which I'm excited. We've seen Luik, we've seen the second team, we've seen Morris. Mm-hmm. And when I say young, it doesn't necessarily have to be with age. It could also be the experience that they come from. Right? Tani didn't have much, Mori didn't have, now they do. Or taking players from USL like Harvey, that's also part of kind of that development space. I think it's just, having a good collaboration and communication with everyone in and around the club, knowing that as much as we want to and are focusing on the short-term result for sustainability and longer development and longer success, we also have to make sure that there's the ability to develop players. Mm-hmm. And there's some good clubs that do it outside in the league. Take a look at Vancouver. I think they only signed 2 players in January. Doing really well by developing the squad. Philly does a good job. And I think, as we started the journey, you'll see us do that as well.
That's great. And lastly here, it's difficult to kind of put a goal on the season. Obviously, we want to win a cup. I have never won an MLS Cup. I want to win trophies. You want to win trophies. We all do. If that wasn't the goal, we wouldn't be here. But do you have any goals or benchmarks for the team going forward? Or is it just, hey, let's focus on the process day by day and move forward, with that?
So I think, something we've created this year, and you'll see it in Q2 on May 20th. Every department is well organized and have their goals, whether it's their baseline goals, and they have the target and goals, and they have the dream. I think the dream, and we should always aspire to win every game and win everything we compete in. Then you have the opponents, and there's context in it. So for me, I go back to, are we improving in our processes? Are we making the right decision? Are we developing players? Are we recruiting good players? Are we taking care of the players? Are we injured? There's so many details in kind of what a success is. And, and if we win the cup, fantastic. And I don't talk so much about winning because, again, you said it, I don't think we would be in the jobs we're in if it's not about winning. Yeah. At the same time, I think we have to look at how we can continue grow both our colleagues, ourselves, the players, and us as a club. Because ultimately, I look at my role and our roles. We're custodians in one point in history of what hopefully will be a long, long history for Minnesota United.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by on the Sound of Loons podcast brought to you by Line of Health. I know I enjoyed our chat, and I'm sure the fans did as well, just to give a little bit of insight behind the curtain of what is Minnesota United. But this has been the Sound of Loons podcast with Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director Khaled El-Ahmad. Thank you so much for sticking on.
Thank you, Zarek.